Hi, it's Lauren. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I have a shaker card to share with you. I'm going to be partnering up one of my sparkle blends with Ink Road Stamps Lucille #1 stamp set, and then the Go Banana Sparkle blends, because if you know anything about Arrested Development, there's a lot of bananas involved with the show. I'm going to start with creating a background using Saltwater Taffy in Distress Oxide along with Lucille's face stamp, and I'm just going to start creating a symmetrical pattern, just offsetting the faces and filling up my A2 size piece of white cardstock. Once I'm done stamping Lucille's face, I'm going to move on to the banana stamp. My ink pad's a little funky and juicy, so I'm going to give it a few stamps off onto some scrap paper before starting to stamp on my background. And I'm just stamping the bananas randomly and rotating them and just kind of filling in the blank white spots of my background, trying really hard to not put the banana directly into Lucille's mouth. Thought that would be kind of weird, so made sure not to do that. Once I was happy with my background, I'm going to grab that saltwater taffy again, and I'm just going to distress the edges just to add a little bit of kind of a vignette style look of distress along the edges of my background. And then once that's done, we got to add some sparkle. So I grabbed my ink on 3 pixie dust and added some water and used a fine paintbrush to splatter that background onto splatter the pixie dust onto my background. Once it dried a little, I got that nice shine. I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to now work on my shaker part of my card. I decided on using Lawn Fawn Stitch Thought Bubble frames to create my shaker outline. I also have this thick foam strips that I got from Amber, the owner of Sparkle Blends, just to try and check out what I thought about the foam strips. So I will not link them down below because they are a sample and I'm just testing them out. If you're looking for something immediately, I recommend Heffy Doodle. They have a really great foam adhesive strips that are perfect for what I'm doing here and outlining the back of my frame with the foam adhesive. I peel off both sides of the release paper because it makes it easier to bend around my frame. Of course, this is when I realized that I completely forgot to put my acetate onto my frame before adding my foam adhesive, but that's okay. I will show you how to fix that. So I am placing my frame right onto my card base, even though I haven't put in my sparkle blends yet. That's because it's completely open because I forgot the acetate. I put my Go Bananas blend into my little skull container here, and I'm pouring in the blend and then picking out all of the monkeys. There's these cute little monkey clay bits, but I don't want them in this particular card, so I will save them for a monkey themed card later. Once I was happy with the amount of sparkle blends inside, I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of my acetate so I can attach it to that frame that's already secured to my background. So I'm just going around the edge with my 1/8 of an inch thick double-sided adhesive. I'm going to make sure it's nice and stuck to my acetate, pull off the release paper, and then I will layer that onto my thought bubble. I cut this one out of the outside in stitch thought bubble. It fits perfectly the same size as the frame, so nice and easy to work with when creating a shaker card. Next, I applied that same adhesive behind my second frame that I cut out, and then I am sandwiching in that acetate so I have a nice clean black thought bubble border. And I just wanted a kind of a funky shaped shaker other than my typical circles or squares. So now that that's done, I'm going to add my sentiment by grabbing my Pear Blossom Press Sentiment cardstock. I'm going to emboss my sentiment using some VersaMark and gold embossing powder. To prime my paper, I'm just using an anti-static powder and applying that down. It just helps keep the embossing powder from not sticking to places that I don't want it to stick to. So using that VersaMark, I will stamp my sentiment onto the black cardstock, and then I will warm up my heat gun and I will add my embossing powder to my cardstock. So I'm using a coffee filter to catch the powder, just makes it a little easier to pour back inside the container. And then when my heat gun was all warmed up, I melted down that embossing powder and have my image in this beautiful gold on top of the black cardstock. I wanted to bring in some of that gold that's inside of the sparkle blends and thought this was a really great way to do that. Now that my sentiment is all cooled down, I use my Swiffer cloth to pick up any of that excess anti-static powder. I'm just grabbing my paper trimmer here and trimming around my sentiment. It's a really nice thick sentiment, so just using my larger paper trimmer to help me make sure I have some nice straight lines. I'm going to grab that same foam adhesive that I used for my shaker to apply to the back of my sentiment, so they're kind of on the same level, the same dimension. I peeled off that release paper, and then using my grid mat, I'm going to do my best to really get that centered and straight onto my card. And that pretty much wraps it up. So I'm going to get my card base. This is a top folding A2, my favorite type of card. And I'm just going to add some wet glue behind my background and attach this to the front of my card. I really like how this turned out. I am thinking of the latest Ink Road Stamps challenge to create a snarky card in mind, and who gives better snark than Lucille Bluth, am I right? So I really love this card. Let's take a look and hear the sound of the shaker. Such a fun shaker sound. I hope you enjoyed this card. Today is my dad's birthday, and he's the one that got into Arrested Development with me, so it was also kind of fun to create this card thinking of him and just how much I love and miss him. So happy birthday, Dad. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!